kid got taken. Jack jumped up on top of the building in Masterville, and they started shooting, and we crushed them, and we fought them off. The State Department guys at that time, they had took off, and they did go the wrong way. They got fucking hammered. The movie's pretty damn spot on. It's chaos. It was brutal. It was like running into a pizza oven. Every time you'd run in, and you felt like your eyeballs were going. It just was awful. But you did it. And what you see in the movie is actually what happened. We jumped over the back walls. A Libyan commander showed up, and he comes up to me. So I'm about ready to go in, and he goes, "You American?" Fuck yeah, I'm American. Of course, I'm American. Yeah, who are you? He goes, "I'm a Libyan commander." And I grab him. I go, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" He goes, "I'm talking to the bad guys."
Welcome to another episode of the Old Paratrooper Podcast. But before we get started, I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Veterans for Veterans. If you left the military after 1987 and your hearing's taken a knock from your time in the services, click the link in this video. No win, no fee. See if you're eligible.
He is a former Ranger with the 2nd Battalion, the 75th Regiment, responded to the Benghazi 2012 attack, author of The Ranger Way and the Patriot's Creed, co-author of 13 Hours, the inside account of what really happened in Benghazi, motivational and public speaker, co-host of Battle Line Podcast, founder of the 14th Hour Foundation, owner of Battle Line Tactical, co-owner of Tanto Vodka, and host of pro-military documentary TV series War Heroes. Some accolades is indeed Kris Paronto. Hello, buddy.
Yeah, bud. Thanks again. And sorry for being late. I apologize to your viewers and all the Brad lists, because I know you were recording this, but I was late. So I'll do push-ups later for you, buddy. I got it. I'll elevate and get knocked out.
No worries. You're excused. I know everyone has busy. I just appreciate it when guests take the time, especially all the way from the States, to come on the podcast and make the time for me. I really, really appreciate it, buddy. What I like to do with all the podcasts is I like to go from the start, where you grew up and kind of ultimately what led you down the path into the military. So whereabouts you from, buddy?
Yeah, I honestly, with my start, from going off from beginning, military wasn't my thing. Some kids do grow up, families military. And I did have a grandfather that was in the Army Air Corps, but I didn't know him. He was actually killed on a mission and shot down. And before even my dad didn't even know. My dad, my grandfather on that side of the family, the Paronto side, he passed away when my father was 1. So I didn't know the military. Military wasn't thing. Family wasn't big military. My mother was the Garcia. So I'm half, man. I'm half. Yeah, I'm a right in the middle, Mexican, and my dad's Spanish, but he's from Spur, Texas, so he's white as hell. Man, he's whiter than rice. Yeah, that's how it. But yeah, we grew up just like a normal kid. We didn't have a lot of money, but and I think the Hispanic generation, especially the Mexican generation, especially here in America, I know sometimes overseas, I don't know what you're getting, but the majority of us, it's hard work. It's work hard. And that was what was instilled in me growing up. My grandfather on that side, Joaquin Garcia, he was a migrant worker, immigrant that immigrated from Mexico. Same with my grandmother, Rose Dominguez Garcia. And I saw them, start from working in a farm to eventually build themselves up and owning their own farm. So I just watched that, and that was something that was in me early growing up. My father's the same way from Spur, Texas. If you get to America, you won't even find where Spur, Texas is. I usually say Lubbock, because you won't know West Texas. West Texas is barren. It's beautiful, but it is what you see on TV and some of the shows of the Landman. You might even see that it's dirt farms. And so like I said, we didn't have a lot growing up, but I wouldn't even have known it. I wouldn't even known we didn't have a ton of money, because I had everything I needed. Could go run out and play in the Chico bushes down there. They're just out in the weeds. Go play in the farm. Go grab a pellet gun and go hunting doves or whatever you want to do. But I did see that my family did every generation got a little bit more successful on what we would term success, a little bit more money, a little bit more stuff. So I saw but I saw through hard work. It wasn't just sitting on your ass doing shit. It was doing nothing. It was getting out there at 6 a.m., going out there plowing the fields and coming back and And my father was a football coach, so I saw him start the high school level and work all the way up to where he was at the Division I level, and then he won a national championship with Brigham Young University when he was a coach there back in the '80s. So, hard work and success always were intertwined growing up, and I know that's something that the generations today I don't think equate hard work and success. Military guys do, but yeah, go ahead, man, Chris, because I
Yeah,
know you
yeah,
are.
I think because you're of a generation, I don't think we're two similar ages, but like I grew up with climbing trees, playing army, and
Yeah,
kind of outside way
of
before
course.
social media, and I think that created because you were just fit when you were young because you were out playing all the time.
You're just out playing, scraping your knees, getting hurt, picking yourselves up. I cracked my head open in the back of a potato truck and was bleeding out. I nobody we played hide and seek, so nobody found me. But that was what we did. Actually, one of my grandfather's migrant workers, one we call him, and the guy. This don't say this outside. This is the term of endearment because that's how I grew up with. We call wetbacks, but that's the because coming across the river. But that he found me in a truck and he picked me up and took me to the house, and grandmother, I still remember her eyes, my abuela, her eyes were because I was seriously bleeding out. I've probably been sitting in the back of that truck playing hide and go seek. My cousins couldn't find me forever, so I know I had blood all over me. But it's one of those things like, and then I got stitched up, came back. Mom, I was at grandma's house. Mom and dad were taking a break from the kids for a little while. I think they took a little vacation to Denver, and I talked to my mom. She said, "I'm all right, mom." And I went out and played the next day. Big swollen eyes, stitches, and that's how it is. But yeah, you grow up that way, and you just realize that you got to bust your ass a little bit, and that's what I did. And but I still was a kid. I still got in trouble. I still, I did some underage drinking from time to time. I'm gonna lie, I did. I partaked in a little bit of that. Boone's Farm's cheap, but the Strawberry Hill was a buck. Man, that's all you got. You can go get a thing of Mickey's Big Mouth. That was a buck. It's easy in your high school. And but I played football, played athletics throughout because I grew up with it. So I played, American football, guys, tackle football, not soccer, which both are tough, guys. I know we give each other shit. But believe me, my son played soccer all the way through high school. So, but I played American football, basketball, baseball, ran track, and then I got a scholarship to attend college and play college football, which I did. And that's why I do really support athletics, and especially, and men competing against men and women that compete against women. We don't play that trans stuff here in this house, and the majority of the United States doesn't. My wife is a huge volleyball player. Met her; she was a college volleyball player. So, I did that, and then I'm not a big guy. I'm not the size of the guy in the movie. Pablo Schreiber, and he's a wonderful. We're still buddies to say. The gentleman that played me in the movie, Pablo Schreiber, wonderful guy, tremendous. Just he's a good friend and just a good person. But he's huge. The dude's like 6'3". I mean, he played Master Chief in Halo. I mean, that dude is he's jacked. Um, so when you're in college and you're short. I'm about 5'9". I was about 180 in college. I was a wide receiver. Um, I did get some couple tryouts, but I got slower as I got older. I was faster as a freshman, as a senior. And when you're short and you're slow, you're not going to make it to the to the next level. The NFL's not going to become calling. The CFL's not going to come calling. If we were to talk about that, even arena football, they're like, no, you're not good enough. So, it, yeah, I do. I am a Christian. I'm not going to beat you down. I'm expect you to believe in Christianity. I just say believe in something. There's something bigger than us out there. Just have faith in something out there. But I do believe in God, and I believe that He was pushing me on a path. And the reason I do believe in that is because I just signed up for the army after a military recruiter caught me in a college when I was finishing, got my bachelor's degree. He caught me during a job fair, and I just happened to be walking in front of the recruiting stands there at the Mason. It was called Colorado Mason University, and he just caught me on a day that he said, "Hey," and I'm the idiot that happened to look that direction, and tractor beam, and the recruiters got me. And I looked at the Marine videos, I looked at, and of course you're looking at the cool stuff. I'm looking at the Rangers do what they do. They're doing the Ranger and SF recruitment videos. I'm seeing the SEAL Challenge videos. So I'm watching the SEAL Challenge, the Marines. I'm watching the recon videos of the Raider. They're Raiders now, but back then they were called Force Recon. And then also the state platoon, the Cypress service surveillance target acquisition platoons. And I like the Rangers, man. I just thought it was, I like that. I'll be honest, I like that beret. And that was back when we had the black berets. Now we have the tan berets with the 75th Ranger Regiment. Back then, though, we were the only ones that had the black beret, hadn't gone to the entire army. Um, and I just, maybe, and that's a little bit of a, um, maybe it's the narcissistic way of looking at things. Like, I don't care what they're doing. He just looks sick. Because you're looking at the stereotypical ranger. Shoot, you could break a brick on his jaw. Just jacked, hardcore bray down there. So I joined, and and I went and told my mom that I joined the army. I had my bachelor's degree in hand, and here I am enlisting in the U.S. Army. And my mom was not happy. I may think I got called pendejo 8-9 million times. For those who don't speak Spanish, that means jackass. There's different slang for it. It means you dumbass, jackass. What do you do? But it's a slang term, and it's not very nice. Let's put that way. But I was off, went to Fort Benning, and it was the learning experience. I was humbled, to be honest, that first time, and I wrote about it in a Ranger Way. If you get a chance, you want to read it, it's in there. But I did go through basic training. I did very well. I did fit. That was hard work pays off. You're going to infantry. I'm going infantry. I'm going Rangers. And it is. I love that. I love the physical aspect of it. And if you perform well physically and mentally, you're going to move up. And I think that's the same anywhere, with whether you're on your side of the house, whether you're Royal Marines or whether you're SAS or FCS. Performance should mean something, and that should mean excelling. And I did perform. I was blessed with some good genes, so that helped. I could run distances, which definitely helps, because I could do a 5-minute mile for 10 months. And that's just a blessing of having a good genes in the family more than anything. And so, I did well, was a distinguished honor graduate going out of basic training. That first time I went to airborne school. Airborne school, I got fat. It was easy. You just have to learn how to fall. It wasn't like the guys back in Vietnam. I know those guys had it hard, and then even after that. But in the '90s, basic airborne, you get sore because you're falling all the time. But it's physically, you're not doing the running like even we were when I was at basic training, and also it's definitely not like when the next thing that was to come, which was the Ranger indoctrination program. So I went to airborne school, through my fell out of an airplane 5 times, 5 went down to day one. The RIP Ranger Instructors Ranger Indoctrination Program is what was called back then. Now it's called RAF, Ranger Assessment and Selection Phase. And but back then it was just name changes, and it's a little longer now because it's wartime now more than when I was in the '90s. So they had time to haze us and train us up at the battalion. So anyway, the day you go through RIP or you get to it, you're at airborne school, and I always will remember this. I do, because it always will stick with me. You see all the people that are leaving, going back to their units, or this is their first unit assignment, so they're going to 82nd, they're going on to 101st, 10th Mountain Division. But they're all happy, they're having fun, they're with their families. You're going from airborne school right to 75th indoctrination. So there's no family, there's no break. I remember the black hat saying, okay, everybody going through RIP, go get your bags, get in the formation and stand right there. And it's hot, Fort Benning summer. Your ball's hot. You got swamp ass like a son of a bitch. And I remember I'm watching, so we're all standing in formation with our duffel bags or A bags, or if you don't call C and D bags, whatever nomenclature you want to use, or big duffel bags. I got one aside, because I haven't had a break to go home yet since day one. So it goes from basic to airborne to RIP. And I'm watching everybody have fun, and I'll be honest, I was about ready to step out right there. I'm like, man, I just want a break. And you're seeing everybody happy, they're hugging their family, oh, where are you going? I'm going to go eat at some pizza place. I said, man, I just want to take a break. And then you see the RIP cadre coming, and I think they do a visual look at them, like, who's going to be the meanest looking motherfuckers that we can put out front. And of course, they're physically fit. And there were a lot of Somali vets at that time too, because it was in '95. So you had a lot of vet guys that had gone through Somalia from '93, 2 years, and they'd made rank, and so they were E5, E6s now, and so I didn't know I didn't know what the stereo scroll meant. I saw Ranger tab scroll, see a scroll on this side. I would look for the CIV, even though, okay, I know what that is. I'm new to the Army, so I'm still trying to figure out everything. And but I remember they were intimidating. I mean, just the way they walked up, you could just tell they were they were salty as shit, and they were bad at, and they were playing the role, and they did an excellent job because they would come in and start screaming, but we were used to the screaming because in the '90s, drill sergeants could still put their hands on it, so it wasn't that big of a deal the screaming and stuff, but they had a different aura, and you just could tell it. These guys, they'll shoot you in the face without even questioning. They're gonna take but not. They're gonna do it if they have to do it. If they need to take you down, they're gonna take you down quick. But they're always you could just tell not just that hardness aura, but that aura that they actually gave a shit. They care. It was one of the weirdest things. I don't know how else to explain. It was that they're mean, but they love you, sort of thing. thing. And I saw that because they come in and start screaming, and they start smoking us up, doing push-ups to elevate, flutter kicks, the normal hazing. And we all get up, and every one of us has been through that before. But it's just not like it's new stuff. But it's hot out, so what? And there's who wants to quit, and you see guys already raising their hand. And I remember distinctly, I thought then they would chew them out, and these Ranger instructors, the 75th guys, they tried to talk them out of it. I mean, it wasn't nice talk, but it was like, why do you want to quit? What are you doing? We haven't even started yet. You don't even know what you're getting into, and you want to quit? No, you're not quitting. Do you really? And I remember seeing that and just being kind of surprised and also proud. Like, wow, these guys, they are mean, they are tough, mean-ish. They're supposed to be, but they're trying to get you to push yourself and make it to a place that you don't think you can make it to, but you can. It's like, hey, I've seen guys that are a lot worse than you make it. You can do this, but guys would still quit. And so they did, but that was the beginning. That was the entry into the induct of the 75th Ranger Regiment from Airborne School. Then we throw all our stuff on the back of a deuce and a half, all of our bags, and then we run down to the RIP barracks, and they were at Fort Benning, Georgia. Actually, they did give us, and that was one thing, they did give us the opportunity to do a test. They timed us to see how long we could get all of our bags on the back of a deuce and a half, and they gave us an ungodly small amount of time. And I remember there was another ranger there, and he's one of the legends. His name's Ernesto Perez. Well, he was. I mean, I thought I was a physical stud. This dude was. This dude could have been in the Olympics. He was a stud. Um, but he was there, and then we had some other guys, Thompson brothers, that were physically fit. I remember on the basic training with them, but it was weird that we all kind of put our egos aside and we got along, and we made this time standard that we shouldn't have made. Nobody's ever made to do this little hazing event that the RIP instructors get. And I remember the RIP instructors looking at us after we completed getting all these bags onto a truck. And I remember we did it, and they looked at us like, oh, we're wrong. And they brought two trucks. So there's a deuce and a half here, deuce and a half here. And like, okay, guys, we're incorrect. It wasn't this truck. We need you to offload everything and get on this truck. And you got this amount of time. I'm like, holy shit. And it's just, there's no time. So, but we did it. We got it all done in that time too. And I remember looking, and the RIP instructors, the RIP cadre, they don't know what to do because they're like, holy crap, this has never happened. Because the punishment, if you don't make it, is you run down. It's about 3 miles. You follow the trucks and you run down to the gate. But we did it. And I'm like, oh my, and so they let us ride on the back. They're like, get on the trucks. That was the only thing they said. And we all looked at each other like, you got a kid. Because we'd heard the horror stories of running down to, to the cat, but we did it. And we were smoked up. It's not easy, guys. If you want to ever try it, get about 50 duffel bags with about 10 guys, 20 guys, and go back and forth in 100-degree heat with 100-degree humidity, and go back and forth. These bags are 50, 60 pounds, and you just go ahead and try it and see if you think it's easy. It's not. But we got in there. I remember we drove down there. I'm like, you got a good feeling, and we get in there, and they close the gate, and you can hear it's like an old haunted house. You can hear the gates close. It's like, it's like, okay, it's on now, and you're on a tarmac or like a big basketball court. It's the 75th RIP barracks, and in the middle of it, of course, you've got the tab and the scroll 75th, and then the punishment just sucks because the whole facility. the chain link fences are all covered, so you can't look into them. So the command structure of Fort Benning, the regular Army command, can't see what's going on, and we just got crushed. I mean, for hours and hours, but you just suck it up and do it. And that was my intro into rangeman, and and just continued on for about 3 weeks is what RIP was, and you get to Coal Range, and everybody that's been through Ranger Regiment knows what Coal Range is. Coal Range is where they can't hear you scream. They take you out, and you just get smoked up more doing land. I mean, you're doing land nav, but you're just running all over the place. You're standing at night in formation, and for those, and Kris, you've probably been there too, man. Just being tired and standing at attention in a formation at nighttime with a little, even if you have a little fire going or not, it's disorienting. You're tired. And every time somebody, we call it here in the timber, you hear somebody fall, you hear them fall over, and you have your rucksacks in front of you. So if you fall, you're brave. You can laugh at it now, but at night it's when you're there, it's like, God, this is never going to end. And I still remember hearing guys just fall over and fall asleep, or trying to fall, and they catch themselves, step real quick, and they step over the bag, and they pick themselves back up. And you're out there until nobody falls over what feels like eternity, but it probably was only about 5-6 minutes, seriously, at a time. Now we were out there for about an hour, but we couldn't go to sleep. They wouldn't let us till we didn't have any falls for, like I said, for me, it felt like ever. Felt like an hour, but it's probably 5-10 minutes that eventually we got where we were set. And then you're doing log PT, normal stuff you see in the movies, guys. You're in that log PT, back and forth, rough runs, and then just land nav all over Coal Range. And for those that haven't broken brush in woodlands and land nav or swamps or anything, that's a smoke fest in itself. It is. And it sucks because you don't have a real gun. You have a rubber duck, and you're walking around over by I think it's Weems Pond is what it was called. There's gators in there. It's like, stay away. If you see the pond, get away from it. There's gators in there, and you're carrying around this rubber. What am I going to do? Beat that alligator with this rubber duck? But you get that. But we got done, and I remember I got Second Ranger Battalion, and I was married at the time of my first wife. And for all you youngsters out there, I would recommend that you go in single, to be honest with you, or you have a very solid relationship, because it just didn't work. And you're already stressed. So I was very much stressed out at that time, because you're a ranger, you're learning, you're untabbed, you're private, you're still getting hazed up all the time. You're having to perform, but you're learning how to be a ranger. You're learning how to do direct action missions. You're during your fry. You're learning how to fast throw. You're learning how to you're doing your jumps, but now you're learning how to do your jumps to consolidate and move out and do a platoon attack or a squad attack. Or, you're doing all that. And it just went south with me and my wife, and it messed me up during a joint greatest exercise at Fort Bragg when we were training with blue and green, and then some of the PJs and combat controllers. And I went home and I made a mistake, and I tried to ambush the guy that was cheating my wife with me, and I got caught. And I did. I luckily for me, I didn't. Nothing bad happened. It was stupid, being young ranger. Don't mix alcohol and firearms. Don't mix, guys. Don't do that. And yeah, but when I say I got caught, I stopped myself when I got there, and I had this is stupid. I went home to my apartment, and I continued to drink, and then my best friend found me, pretty much keeled over, and luckily he was home, because he was going through officer school at the time at Fort Benning. We had entered in, and after that, he had to report it, because he actually ministered me into the emergency room, because I'd partaken in a lot of alcohol, there was a gun involved. I'd taken a ton of Tylenol, a whole bottle of it with my Jack Daniels. And of course, the military's got to find out. I'm on leave right now. I'm on block leave. So I got to go back, and it just, it's like, you're not, you're unsafe. And I am. I know. And I got discharged from the military that first time I was in, after about a year and a half of being in. And luckily for me, again, I said, Lord works mysterious ways. He always has plans for you. I got an honorable discharge. I didn't deserve it. I shouldn't have. I'll be honest. I probably should have got general discharge under honorable conditions. But I got an honorable discharge. Little did I know at that time that was going to say that was. And feel free, Kris, to cut me off because I'll start rambling and get.
No, you go for it. I was just going to say though, before you carry on, you did forget an important British unit. That's the parachute regiment. Forget the Royal Marines, the parachute regiment.
The parachute regiment. I did forget. Yeah, my bad. My bad. And I know you guys too because we work with you guys too. Yeah. But yeah, you guys know. I mean, as much as we're all different, we're all the same when it comes to airborne units and special ops units, because you do have. So I know you've gone through your own bit of hazing yourself and your own bit of gut checks yourself, because we worked with a lot of you guys, especially when we started with the ADC. I come across MI5 guys, MI6 guys, and the majority of them all were either parachute regiment, Royal Marines, or former SPS or SAS guys. But anyway, basically, and that's why I also, when I do my speeches, I tell people, sometimes bad things happen to you and you don't know why. And you don't try to figure it out. Just drive on and continue to move forward. And I did get discharged. I did get an honorable discharge, which is going to save me later. But I went back home and divorced, went through the divorce, got that all cleaned up, and we're not, nothing against it. We're still friends of this. We're friends today. We just got married. Young kids getting married young.
Absolutely. It happens, doesn't it? It happens.
And she's a wonderful woman. And nothing bad to say about her. Just, hey, we just made a mistake. Shouldn't have got married at that point in time. But anyway, I was discharged. I was out. And that's humbling, man. I mean, you can go through the mill. I didn't finish my tour. I'm back home. Everybody knew it's a small town, so everybody's like, "Oh, you're gonna be a ranger," and you're feeling ego, and then you got to walk around like, "Oh shit, he didn't make it. He's back with the town again." And so one of my friends was his senior year in college football, and we played together at Mesa. It was his last year, so he's in college. I'm young. What am I, 26 at the time? He goes, "Why don't you come down, go to spring break? Let's go to South Padre, South Padre Island, hang out, get your mile back." Oh, okay. Drunk women, drunk girls, and drunk guys partying down. Sure, let's go. And I went down there, and I know there's probably people out there looking like you're such a horn dog, you're such a jackass. But again, the Lord, God works in serious ways, because I'm down there, I'm partying. First night there, partying. I'm at a place, they even remember the bar, Louis on the Lake, down South Padre Island, trying to smile again. I'm with my buddies that I played football with, and they're all picking me up. I remember 90s, we didn't have Fireball, kids. There was no Fireball. It was called cinnamon schnapps. You had a cinnamon liquor, and they would put that in a little shot glass, and the shot girls would walk around these bars holding them during these spring break things. And somebody hit the shot girl, and all the cinnamon liquor just spilled. I was burning up, and I was fired. I was burning up, and I was burning like, you mother. And I turned around to fight, and there's this beautiful brunette, beautiful brown haired girl right there. She's about 5'10", and strong. I look at her. She knocked the shot girl into me, and it was like Cupid's arrow, man. It was like boom, and then I started dancing with her and got to know her. Her name was Tanya, and just long story short, guys, that's my wife today. We have 3 children,
Wow.
3 kids today. So it's like you never know. It's like sometimes just take a chance, even if it's a chance in debauchery, and it might turn out right. But yeah, met her. She was in Omaha. Went back. She got my life back. That 1 week, I got back on track. It just took me that time, and I still didn't know what I was going to do, because I couldn't rejoin the Army for 2 years. That was a stipulation. I had to stay out of the military for 2 years for my mishap, for my mistake, and to them, I wasn't mentally ready yet. I'm not going to give a guy a gun that's going to drink and try to commit suicide and no, I'm not going to do that. So took a GR. I said, well, what am I going to do? Got to keep moving forward. Took the GRE, graduate records examination, is to go to grad school. And she was at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So that's what I did. I took the GRE, passed it, did well, applied to several colleges to get my master's degree. I got accepted at University of Nebraska at Omaha, where she was finishing her senior year playing volleyball. And I packed up my Bronco 2 that could barely make it down the road. And I asked her, I said, find me a place to live. I don't care what it is. She found me a little room in a ghetto of Omaha for about $120 a month, no air conditioning, nothing. And I just picked up and moved. I went down there, got in a room. I had hernia surgery that had to get done. So I went to the VA, got my hernia surgery done. So I'm moving down there and I know nobody except her. And all I know is from that week. And I'm all beat up surgery. And so I did what I did. I had to make money. So I was a telemarketer for about 6 months as I healed up. And and then I looked at Mutual of Omaha because I lived right by the Mutual of Omaha building right there in going to downtown Omaha. And I applied there and I became an insurance adjuster and got through grad school. And for the next 2 years, that's what I did. And I did. I just improved with what I thought I could improve on. And her and I kept dating. And of course, it blossomed into something special. Um, but during that time frame, I was like, man, I did not finish. I am not a quitter. I got to go back in the Army and finish what I started. And I did. It took me about 8 different recruiters that would help me because every one of them would see what I did. And they're like, no. And I had a reentry code of 3. And in the Army, on your DD 214, it may stay on with discharge, but you have an RE code. It's called RE code. It's right there in the corner. And 3 is not good. That means that means you're going to have to put a lot of waivers in to get you in. But eventually, I went to the headquarters recruiting command, the Nebraska Sergeant Major Recruiting Command. Sergeant Major was there that day. Just happened to be lucky. It was 2 years of me trying, 8 different recruiters. I kept going back and going back. And took all my paperwork in. Of course, I had to go get medical psych evals. I went through 3 of those. On my own dime. I put it on the paper. Hey, I got clearance. I got clearance, Sergeant Major. Doc says I'm good to go. And Sergeant Major looks at me and he's got a tab. He's got his range, which is a good thing. And he looks at me and goes, "You sure you want to go back in?" I'm like, "Sergeant Major, roger that. I got to finish what I started." He goes, "Okay." And he slides paper over. I signed it and slides it back. He goes, "By the way," as he's holding my paper, that's from my signature on it. He goes, "By the way, you got to do it all over." I said, "What?" He goes, "You got to do everything." I said, "Everything?" I said, "Basic." But you know what? Uh, Half the problem, and you know this, half of our battles when we go into these things, it's all up here. If you know what's coming for you, you can handle it.
It's a
Physically,
game. It's a game
yeah,
if you know
it's
the
a
game.
exactly. And so physically, I got myself in such good shape because all I did was work and work out and hang out with my girlfriend, that's all I did. Because I knew I was going to go back in. I was going to find a way. And I was like, I'm going to make all the drill stars. They're going to eat my dust when I get because I know what's coming. And I went and I did. I got there, went back to basic training. They actually I could outperform every drill sergeant there. There was only one we called the senior drill sergeant that was there. He was a former bat boy, Ranger Battalion. He was an E7 for Ranger Battalion. I would run and do PT with him every day because I could outdo the drill sergeants. I loved him. He was a fucking stud. But went back to airborne school, did airborne school, no big deal. Drawed myself out the airplane. I'm good to go. Went through RIP. I knew it was coming and I was in such good shape. I mean, just flying through it. Most of those RIP instructors this time, because I went through it again, I'd been privates with them before. So I knew that they're like, "What the hell are you doing here again?" And he's in E6 now. Like, well, I fucked up. Like, you got this. So went back to second Ranger Battalion again and got to Ranger School and it fit. I'm doing well. I got to Ranger School, got my tab, went back to battalion, became a team leader. And then my platoon leader found out that I had a master's degree. And so, I'm an enlisted guy. My platoon leader, "Hey, can you come to my office, Ranger?" Like, "Sir, yeah, what can I do, sir? What do you need from me?" And he goes, and of course, I'm being more respectful than that. He's my freaking platoon leader. He goes, "We found out you had your master's. I checked your stuff. Why aren't you an officer?" I'm like, "Well, I feel like I needed to do my enlisted time first, sir." He goes, "You have a master's degree. You should be an officer." And he was a Mustang too. So he was enlisted and then he became, that's in the U.S. Army. A Mustang means you're enlisted, then you become an officer. So he was a Mustang. Just to say, I checked your records. You had enlisted time before. You got enlisted time now. This is, I've been back at battalion for a little over a year now. So I've got about 3 years in a battalion now total, if you count total time. He goes, you need to get over there." He says, you can do green to gold or you can do OCS. What do you want to do? And I said, well, green to gold, I already got my degree. And green to gold, what that is, guys, that means when you go back into into college ROTC, and you basically you just enlist in the reserves, and you go back into ROTC and you do your but that's usually for guys that want to go get their degree too. So and for me, I was like, sure, I already have my master's. Why green to gold? Because you only have to do the military science portion, which will take you about a year, or you can go to OSTS back to Fort Benning and do your 3 months at Austin Cannon School and do that. And OCS, all that is just a watered down basic training again. And to me, I was like, God, I've been through basic training twice. I don't want to go through basic training again. And wear the goofy ass helmets and that blue ascot looking like a, never mind. Like, I was like, I don't. So I said, I'll do the year ROTC. And I told my wife, and honestly, it worked out because we got married. So we got married right before I went French school. And it did. Just how God sits thing in front of you. Because he had just been offered, because she was athletic, got her bachelor's. She had just been offered to become a manager at Gold's Gym back in Omaha, Nebraska. So like, wow, and I had the RTC program that one of them for my choices was Creighton, which is in Omaha, Nebraska. It's like, well, this is just too weird. And I did I took a note. I've talked about it with my wife, and I went back to my team there and said, sure, I'll do the 1 year green and gold. And that's what I did. So I went to do green and gold for a year, went back to the ROTC. It was a piece of cake. I mean, actually, I taught a lot of the classes that they had there, but I did have some great military. They're all reserves. They're all active guys that are reserves. So I did have some great instructors. That my colonel was from the Night Stalkers. So the head guy, our battalion commander for that RTC program, Colonel Workman, he was former 160th guy. For those of you who don't know, Night Stalkers, those are the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the 160th SOAR. So he's there. So just having him there, and then I had a 10th Mountain E7 in there that had his tab, so he was a grunt, and so it really was fun. I'll be honest, I had fun. I ain't gonna lie. I worked on my second master's and got my commission, and then went back, got branched infantry, and then God or the devil reared its ugly head again. And I remember I'm back at Fort Benning, Georgia. I'm commissioned now. I'm officer. We're out there training at Malone Ranges there at Fort Benning, and I cracked my pants. I know it's funny, but the Lord works mysterious ways, or the devil plays a part in this. But when I crapped my pants, I shit blood. All it was gross. It was just and I didn't realize that I had Crohn's disease for many, many years. Yeah, I just never realized it. Because you work hard to play hard. We go out there, we eat a ton of pizza, we drink a ton of beer, we go and we work hard. Our stomach kind of hurts.
Yeah, I get you.
You did. And I was medically discharged officially in 2006, but 2003 is when it happened. And I got really sick. Lost a lot of weight. I looked like I just graduated from Ranger School. Like that. Because what Crohn's is, or ulcerative colitis, they're very similar. If you have it, I feel for you guys. Believe me, I understand. It basically, your intestines look like road rash. It look like somebody took a cheese grater in your intestines. And since that's where all the food and nutrients are absorbed, your hydration, you can't absorb anything, so it just shoots right through you with mucus and blood. That's why you're just shitting blood all the time, shitting blood and mucus. And they get you on heavy doses of corticosteroids like prednisone to get it under control. And a lot of people, I've known a lot of people that just go downhill. And with me, it was, okay, I'm sick. I'm like, gee, I remember sitting on let me get back to because they did hospitalize me at Martin Army Hospital. I remember looking up on the gurney going, questioning God. I did question my faith at that time. I was like, what? Why? Why did I do to deserve? I'm finally back where I'm going to be. I'm going to go back to battalion as a platoon leader. I've got my, I'm going to try out. I've got big dreams. I'm going to try out, get my year, become a captain in 03, then try out for squadron, try out for green, and hopefully become a squadron commander over there. And I was like, man, what did I do? And, there's reasons why, but at the time I did question my faith, but I didn't give up. And I remember I went home, I got a list. That's what I did. I got a notebook, and I remember I'm taking heavy dose of prednisone. So I'm all bloated up. I feel like a little Ethiopian baby. I'm skinny, but I'm And I remember I'd eat something, and if I shit blood, I'd write it down, don't eat. And I'd eat something else, don't eat. And I just realized, tried to figure out what I could digest and not get sick on and what I couldn't. And that's what I did for the next year. And then I would work out. I mean, when I got on, if I could do a push up, I'd do a push up. And then if I could do two, I could do two. And then if I could run around the block, walk around the block, I'd walk around and it got over that next year where I figured out what to eat and what I couldn't, what I had to cut out of my diet. And it basically just turned into an all meat diet. I could eat meat and chocolate. And that's good enough for me.
Well, that's not bad, is it? Come on, there's worse
It's
diets
not-
out there.
it's
It's
not
right
bad.
diet.
And then I could
Eat
tolerate. You can't beat that, man. And then for my carbs, I could tolerate corn. So anything that was made out of corn, I could. But if it was wheat, if it was dairy, or if I ate too much of it, then no. But I figured it out. But it was painstaking because it sucked. It was you have to be methodical and figure out what you can do with your life. Your life changes dramatically, and that's okay if you want to keep moving forward. If you want to keep being sick, then you just keep doing what you're doing, and then eventually you just die early. I put that, or you have a miserable life. But I remember I built myself back up after that year, and then out of nowhere, I got a call from Blackwater Security Company in 2004, end of 300 beginning 2004. And they asked me if I wanted to be a contractor in Iraq, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about because I didn't know what that was. Was relatively new at that time. You had the coastal guys from DynCorp, we had some of that. You had the executive outcomes guys to South Africa, but I didn't know much. That wasn't something that was. We didn't have the internet, guys, so it's not like that was in the newspapers all the time. It wasn't always on social media. So when they called me, I'm like, I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. They said, well, the ranger from second bat, he's working with us. He gave us your name and said that you had been medically discharged, and we're looking for guys because we need to fill spots because we just got the the Bremer contract, the CPA contract in Iraq. I didn't have a job, bud. I was getting back in shape. I was feeling good. I had it under control. My Crohn's was under control. And they said the money, and I didn't even care, but they were paying us $250 a day to come train. To me, that was $1,000,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and I was like, okay. And I went down there. I went in, and they had like a 3-week vetting course for their CPA contract. It was easy. State Department. It was so easy. It knocked it out. And they're like, okay, do you want to go to Baghdad and work under our high threat protection contract? And they said, we're going to pay you this. Now that was big money. That was at the time when contracting was big money. It may not be a high daily rate, but if you work through your leaves, you're getting paid 30, 40, 50, 60,000 extra dollars to spend Christmas Day there. And it was worth it until you got blown up. Then of course it didn't no amount of money. I always tell guys it was worth it until you got blown up or shot at or you saw a buddy die. But I remember I went over to my wife. I said, "Don't divorce me, but I'm going to go to Iraq." And that's when what you see in Benghazi. That's when that really started. Because the next 10 years from 04 to, and then I said 03 to 2013 is when I stopped contracting. That's what I did. I contracted with Blackwater. I went to Baghdad. I went to Mosul. I worked in Kurdistan for many years. I worked in Afghanistan, Kabul, Kandahar, Lashkar. I worked in Herat a bit. I wasn't one of the main guys there, but we'd always go in there and work with our GRS team because there was a main GRS team there. So I get to Herat quite often. And then up in the Panjshir and the what was another province? What's up in that Panjshir province? It's where Salang Tunnel is. There's another area. I wish I could remember. It's over by Hosts or whatever you want to call it, Camp Chapman. But and then I did also anti-piracy work off the coast of Somalia, Gulf of Aden. And then I did stuff in South and Central America with Eric's little secret company called Grayshill. And it was awesome. I have to admit, I do wish, I wish I stayed longer in the Army. I wish I would have got it all the way to Delta, but that contracting life and me being able to go to all these places and there was I was on my own for most of the time. I got to see the country from like kind of a foreigner's point of view that just comes into sightseeing because we lived on the economy. I lived in the towns. I knew the best places to come, and that's cool. And it's also kind of even more intimidating, scary because you're on your own. I got a drop gun. in my holster. I got something I can carry, a little pistol, but that's it. And you survive by your wits. There's a movie which you're what Men in Black 3 with Thor that's in that. I survive by my wits and my blast, my whatever he says, my Glock 245. But that's what you do. And it was fun. And then, but we also had, great missions. And that's when CIA came in. I tried out for the CIA, GRS, Global Response Staff, in 2005. Went through a course called Tactical Development Course. And it was hard. It was hard. We lost. It was, and you had to have 6 years special operations, at least at that time, to get in. And it was a 50% failure rate. There were SEALs, Delta, Rangers, Marines. I went through, I had a Royal Marine guy and also an SDS guy that came through my course. They both made it. Um, they're great guys. Love them. They're awesome. But you see guys falling out and not making the shoots. Physically, everybody could make it. They're all worse. Everybody was a sense. It's obvious. But just the shoots were pretty tough. And then sometimes it's just a bad day. Hey, you just have a bad day. Well, tough shit, bud. Bad day, you missed your calls, you're out. And I made it, and that led up to what everybody saw in 13 hours. So when 13 hours happened, I was pretty old. I was 40 some years old. Um, I'd been deploying at that time close to 10 years, and been through a lot just personally, through my personal life and professionally. I'd seen death at that point in time. I've experienced, I've lost buddies. I've saved some buddies too, and some buddies that saved me. So when 9/11 happened, 2012, I was mentally and emotionally and physically ready for pretty much anything. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think God put it at that point in time in my career on an accident. I do believe that if it would have happened earlier in my career when I was younger, I think the outlook, at least for me, would have been different. I would have handled myself with a lot less calmness, a lot less focus. I would have been a lot more and energy, but not in a good way. A lot more of
Those times you were out in Iraq, I always liken them for the golden years,
they were.
2003, 2004. So they probably prepared you. I was out there the same time as you, from 2004 to 2000.
Oh, it was a wonderful time, wasn't it? It was
Brilliant. Money was
Wonderful.
brilliant. There was you weren't governed by too many rules, so to speak. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you could.
Yeah.
It was a bit like the Wild West.
It was the Wild West. That's what we called it.
Yeah.
It was the Wild West. You had your rules of engagement, and you had State Department there, but there wasn't a lot of oversight because there couldn't be. They had so many missions they had to do, so many diplomats that needed to go places, and the big army was doing their own missions. They were doing, and you couldn't pull the SEALs or Delta or Rangers to do protection because they're doing direct action stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to get the PSD guys in there, and there just wasn't enough, and they had to get the job done, and all right, let's get it done. And I remember when, there wasn't even a geospatial office in there, so you don't even have maps. We're running down like, where the hell are we? We're just running down the same street 8 times. It's like, are we trying to get ambushed?
Crazy. It was crazy at times, but that probably prepared you for what was
Yes.
to come later on, definitely.
It did. It did. It helped me find that focus. And like, as guys get older, and I think every older guy can attest to this, especially if you've been trained and you've applied those training principles in a real world setting, is that you know how to go, all right, let's just go knock it out. All right, bad things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen. Let's just open up the world, situational awareness that goes from here to here. And when bad stuff start happening, it actually even expands farther because that you know how to take a breath. You know how to open up and focus on everything that's going around, not just where you hear guys say, well, I got tunnel vision. Well, no, actually, I think it's the exact opposite. As I got older, it went from here to here to here to here to at that point in time, it was awesome. It was because you can just the sights and the smells and the colors and everything that happened during war when you're able to get everything off. They're beautiful, man. I mean, I just want to tell people it's savage beauty, but it's beautiful. That fire is so orange, and if it's diesel smoke, even in the nighttime, it's so black. And you're looking through your night vision. You pull it down, you flip them out or you flip them up. Man, you put it down. You look up, then you look up, and you see the stars are all popping in the sky. Then you come back to the carnage, and it's the chaos is so beautiful, man. And even during the daytime, man, when you see holes in these big buildings, and you still wonder, how did that hole get? That is so fucking awesome. Look at that hotel with that big 50 cal hole in there, or somebody hit it with a freaking CPU. It's like, that is fucking awesome. And the wonderful thing, and I do think why Benghazi was special, because everybody on the team was at that age. Every one of us had a lot of years under our belts. Every one of us had been through more than one altercation. Every one of us had been through a lot of training. I mean, Tig was our youngest guy. He was 39, and that's pretty old.
Yeah.
And so when it happened, every guy on that team had that situation worse than that ability to go, all right, let's just go get to work. And that was wonderful because that doesn't always happen within units. And it rarely happens, to be honest with you, unless you're with an old unit that's just had guys around forever, which it doesn't always happen. You always have a new guy. And we didn't have any new guys there. And that's an anomaly in GRS as well, like it is anywhere else. Most times you'll have a new guy coming on, and whether he's a new SEAL and whether he's been a SEAL, Ranger, Delta, or what, you're still new to GRS, and it's a different way of doing things. And you got to be able to ramp that direct action. I got to smash the door. I got to kill everything. It's not. You got to pull it back because you don't want to have those mannerisms out there when there's only two guys and you're in the town. And if you have a guy that's always switched on, the terrorists and even the locals, they can sense that like that. They can sense it, and you're trying to hide in plain sight, and you can't do that if you're always wound too tight. But that team was not wound at all, and when the attacks started happening, even though we were telling that we couldn't go, we were told multiple times, nope, can't go. We were told stand down one time. You can argue that or not, that you weren't there, so fuck you. But we were told stand down once. Tick was by Bob. None of us panicked. And it's easy to panic because you're trying to go help U.S. citizens. We're trying to get over there. We know the ambassador over there. We know he's high level, and we liked him. We thought, there's a lot of ambassadors that are a bunch of assholes. They're diplomats or politicians. He wasn't. He was a stand-up guy. And I remember on the radios, they're calling us on the radios, the State Department guys that were over there, because we gave them ICOMs so they could talk to us, little individual communication devices, the ICOMs. And they're like, GRS, we need you. And they're calling us and calling us and calling us. And GRS, where are you? GRS, we were fucking taking fire. GRS, they're lighting the buildings on fire. I smile at that because that got me. And that's my way. That's my defense mechanism. When I'm starting to feel a little bit of a motion, I'll smile instead of get sad. Just let me come up like this. But I remember that, and I remember when Alec Henderson on the radio, and I love the movie because the movie got it just right to write, and we helped write the script, so we made sure that the verbiage, for the most part, was good. It's still a movie, guys, but we made sure we did everything we could to make sure that thing was as accurate as possible. When he said GRS, if you don't get here, we're all gonna fucking die. And he said just that came through the radio. I remember I'm right here, earpiece in, and we all heard it. That's when I saw the team just it was like a team being one unit. And I remember saying everybody on the same page, like, we're going. And I remember Tyrone cracking his door and doing this. Ron, my SEAL buddy who died that night. He was in the sedan in front. I was in Land Cruiser. And he opened the door. It's armored car, guys. We're level 7. We can't roll the windows down. So he cracks the door and he just puts his arm up and he gives a thumbs up, is what you're seeing. And I'm in the Land Cruiser. I'm watching him do this. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Because before that, he'd even said when we started to jock up, he goes, none of y'all got to go. We don't have to do this because they weren't our responsibility. And I remember all just standing there and nobody said a word. And he goes, all right, jock up. And you get the tingles. You're like, let's fucking go. And so when he gave that thumbs up, the tingles came again. And I remember, we had a couple other things. I had to get our interpreter. We call them all in the movie. We had to find Henry because we needed our interpreter. All of us had been through situations where we had combat terrorists with us before, and we also knew the importance of being able to speak the language, so we didn't have a friendly fire incident, a blue on green incident. So had to find Henry, got him, and he was adorable. That dude was the cutest. I remember, and I did hand him my pistol. He goes, telling him I'm not weapons qualified. I remember I handed it to him. I said, "You're not go get your stuff." And that little dude, braver than all of us, man. I mean, he had no business going with us. He wasn't combat terp. He was a linguist. We never went outside the gate, rarely, if ever. Then it was if we wanted to take him to go get coffee, we might take him to go get coffee. But I remember him coming back out. Yes, helmet. He doesn't have his own gear. We got all the cool Gucci gear, the old form fitting stuff. He has somebody's helmet on, doesn't fit him. It was so huge. It's just jangling around. But it's one of those where you see the guy that's so chewed up that his chin straps on over here. His body armor, he had a flak jacket. It's too long. Those shitty ass flak jackets. And I just remember him coming because I'm taking him in my car, and he's running at me, and he's running like this, finger in the trigger well. So, it's just so surreal, but it was so adorable. It was just like, look at this little, and he didn't, he looked like in real life. For those that have ever seen Bob Newhart, the old Bob Newhart, I don't know. And if you're not, Google who Bob Newhart. He's an iconic old TV character that we have here in the States. Droopy cheeks. He's got glasses, a little bit balding. That's what he looked like. He just adorable. And but but the Browns can't because he's the local national. So, but I remember him coming and just thinking, man, this dude is the bravest dude I ever seen in my life, because I would have shit a brick if I was in these shoes. I gotta go. It's my job to go. This is you're my mind and everybody else's that does it. Our minds are set up. Okay, this is what we're here for. This is he's not here for this, but he did win anyway, and that motivated the whole team. It's like, holy shit, this dude is incredible. And I remember getting him in the car. For those all you smartasses out there, yes, I did actually take his finger out of the trigger well and point his weapon system down because he was sitting behind me in the car. And we took off down there. And the movie showed it. Good job us pulling up. Now, we didn't leave him on his own. We didn't say, go figure this out. We put Jack on him. So Jack was don't think we were assholes hiding behind the car and going, okay, go figure that out. We had somebody with him, so shit hit the fan, he didn't go. But other than that, it was pretty dang similar. You just got there, and all of a sudden, as you got closer to this wall, they just started firing. And terrorists, and from those, Kris, they learn from us. I respect them. I do, and their capabilities and their ability to learn, and their ability to, they sacrifice the hell out of themselves. But that was the avenue of approach that they thought we were going to come down. So they just locked it with machine gun fire. I mean, that's smart. I mean, it's an alleyway. You got big alleyway. You got 8-foot high block walls on this side, 8-foot high block walls on this side. That's their avenue of approach. They made that fatal funnel. We ain't getting down there unless we can suppress it. And that's what happened. They just started rattling. And there was some local guys there that were trying to help us. And what you see, in movies, what happened? And we just fought them off. I remember Boone says, "Hey, Tanto, let's go get high." And you do see us run off. Boone and I run off because what we're going to try to do, we think we can get through these backyards, is we're going to try to flank them. We're going to come around this way because I'm the machine gun. We have a Mark 46. I got it. I'm the smallest guy in the team, so I got to carry the machine gun. How's that always fucking work out, right? Always got but I got it. Boone is a former state platoon guy. He's a sniper, surveillance, target acquisition in the Marine Corps. They're called state platoons. But that's what, if you're seeing the movie Sniper with Jake Gyllenhaal, that's what a state platoon is. And he's a sniper, so he has our SR-25. It's a 308 sniper rifle. And so we just start jumping walls. And I remember Tig out a 203 grenade launcher. I'm hearing him go thump, and he's starting to he's laying hate with that 203. He's just thump, and you just start hearing boom, boom. And Jack and Tyrone have got their L4s, and they're coming around the corner, and they're trying to suppress as we're moving. And that 203 is doing a good job. It's suppressing and taking out a lot of those machine guns that are down the way. The front gate from where we are on Gunfire Road down is only about I wouldn't say 300 meters, maybe 200 meters straight distance, 250. And Tig's locked on. He's getting them. He's taking them out. But Boone and I are starting to climb walls, and it is what you see in the movie. Exactly what happened. Got two Libyans run out of nowhere. They're young kids. And how war's lucky too. You have a lot of luck. I mean, if they were bad guys, they probably would have got us, because we didn't see them, because we're focused in on this building that we think we can get up onto. And they come out of nowhere. And I remember flipping like this, and their guns were down. AKs, two young kids. And they're like, and then, it's Mr. That's the best thing they got, Mr. Like, who the fuck are you? like 17th Feb. And I said 17th Feb because we thought they were friendly with us. Part of that element was, part of it wasn't. So for those that have followed this, 17th February was not someone we could trust, but there were personnel in there that were pro-American. And we got lucky. They were pro-American. And I remember looking at them and I said, and they were like, come with you. Can we come with you? I said, Roger that. Boone looked at me, he's shaking his head. So what the hell? And I did. I said, four's a fire team, bro. That's exactly what I said. And I grabbed him and I said, Boone. And Boone knew. Boone jumped in the back. And Boone did say, just don't shoot him in the back, because I was going to take lead. Boone was going to be in the back. And then we put those two guys in the middle of us and we started going over the walls. And, the movie sped it up, but it took us about 30, 35 minutes to go over all those walls, climb to the top of that building. And for those that have cleared buildings, especially with either a SAW or Mark 46, and I also got my M4 on me. I got body armor on me. I got my night vision on me, helmet, everything. I was wearing shorts. I still got those shorts in a tough box over here. So I was. And I had a Mickey Mouse shirt on. We just didn't put it in the movie. They wouldn't let, Disney wouldn't let us. But I had the iconic Mickey Mouse shirt on. But man, I remember getting up on the top of that building, clearing up, and we're not clearing every room. We're clearing our corners and just getting up top as fast as we could, and then we'll protect our keep with the doorway there once we get there. But I remember getting up there, and that's when the disappointment, but the beauty I talk about seeing the fire and the carnage. That's really where it was so amplified, because we're up high now. We're elevated 4 stories. I'm looking down. There's no trees in Benghazi except on the ambassador's compound, and they're all on fire and they're all just burning. It is beautiful. But the downside of it is all that black smoke and all that fire. We can't get a good visual on bad guys and good guys, and especially at that distance. And at that time, Ron's calling me on the radio and he says, Tanto, he says, what do you see? And I said, Ron, this roost is a bust. I can't see anything. I said, shoot, move, communicate. We'll just meet you in the middle. And it is disappointing because you've expended all that damn energy. And then you're like, shit, we just waste. You want to feel wasted. Like, man, I wasted all that damn time. Boone's the same way because he's smoked that. And SR-25 isn't light either, guys. And he's got a therm scope on it. So it's not light either. But we run back down, and then we eventually, Roan actually fighting their way down, suppressing. They beat us into the compound. So we actually started for them, and they were suppressing with the 203, and they managed to actually get into there first. And Roan did exactly what you see in the movie. He just, wow, they took out a guy that was trying to kill him. Said, you're welcome. Jackson said, I don't know. I wasn't there, but he may have said you're welcome. But what he did, though, is he's fun and he ran. I mean, that was Roan. Roan had balls of steel. He just took off. And I remember talking to Jack about it. He goes, yeah, he just took off. And I'm like, well, fuck, I guess we're going in. They took off after him, and he runs in and he goes, we're on site. And I hear him talking to State Department guys. He goes, State Department, we're on site. We're on site. And me and Boone are like, holy shit, we got to hurry because we're not in there yet. And what you see in the movie is actually what happened. We jumped over the back walls. A Libyan commander showed up, and he comes up to me. So I'm about ready to go in, and he goes, you American? Fuck yeah, I'm American. Of course, I'm American. Yeah, who are you? He goes, I'm a Libyan commander. I go, so good for you. So good for you. He goes, he goes, I go, can you get these gates open and bring your force through? He goes, yeah, give me a second. And, he's talking broken English. So he gets his cell phone, he calls, and he turns his back away from me. And I can tell he just lowered his voice. Even though all this carnage, I can tell he's talking low. And I grab him, I go, who the fuck are you talking to? He goes, I'm talking to the bad guys. I said, what? And I was flabbergasted. Like, what? I said, you fucking know the bad guys? He goes, yeah, I'm going to negotiate. I said, who the fuck are the bad guys? Where are they? He goes, and I was so pissed. I brought my 46 up. I went here, and then Ron come across the road. He goes, Tano, we need you in. And Boone started yelling at me because he's in. He goes, Tom, we need you. And then Tig starts yelling at me through the radio. Tano, get your ass in here. And like, motherfucker. And I go, you shut these gates when you come back in here, because I still wasn't sure he was, but he was one of the back. I didn't know. Hindsight's 2020. He was a bad guy, but they all dressed the fucking same. I mean, the only difference that you could every once in a while is you would see one in a white t-shirt and they would have woodland camo. That would designate Ansar al-Sharia, but he wasn't wearing that. He was wearing the normal, just BDU shit, desert BDU shit. While we run in there, um, clear it, hour, takes about an hour, it's 9 acres. So we clear it, try to find the survivors. And the movie, like I said, the movie's pretty damn spot on. It's chaos. Is anyone that's been through any sort of situation similar, whether it's being ambushed or having doing a direct action mission, assault in the compound, or you're repelling attackers. It's just chaos, but just controlled chaos. You know where you're going. Guys are staying together. We're finding the survivors. We do find Sean. He's dead. And I'll be honest here again. I would rather get shot at again than ever run in a burning building. It was brutal. It was like running into a pizza oven. That's what I always give that is a metaphor analogy. I know I got my mastery, but I'm not really a smart guy. So whether metaphor analogy, but it was every time you'd run in and you felt like your eyeballs were going to melt. It just was awful. But you did it. And Tyrone and Jack and Tig ran in the most, but we would take turns. So every time that we'd have 2 people go in because it was just full of diesel smoke. You couldn't see, you couldn't white light it because white light is like turning the brights on in the fog. You can't do that. So you're just trying to feel around, and in between that, we pulled security, and we did find Sean's body. I think Jack did. Either Jack or Tig found Sean's body, and they pulled him out. He was dead of smoke inhalation when they found him. And at that time, I'm pulling security. I remember Boone being very upset, and Boone didn't get upset because when he came to tell me he was cussing, I heard him behind me, and I was pulling security because that jackass commander had failed to close the back gate. So I'm holding on that back gate, just making sure that it's covered because that's one of the avenues of approach we think we might get counterattacked. But he's yelling, and he's like, "That motherfucker, that piece of shit, that son of a bitch." And Boone doesn't get mad ever. He's always, he's very, very, and that's one of his strengths. He's very level-headed, always. Oh, I've known him for 10 years at that point. He's very level-headed. We started at Blackwater yet. And I turn around, I go, "What happened?" He goes, "We lost him." And I don't care how many times you've done this. When you hear you've lost, it's going to hurt as it hits you. But you can't let it stay there. You'll have, like, now what is it? 14 years later, I'll think about it now, but I can't think about it then. We still got a job to do. And I just put it out of my head, it's like, and it stung. And then it's like, get it out of there, get it out of here, rip it out, turn that thing back to ice. All right. And I look at him and I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Sean, we lost the IT guy." And it sucks, man, but you deal with it. And Boone's a professional, so all I got to do to get him back, because he's a Marine, I just go, "Hey, Sergeant," I just give him the knife fan, I go, "Sergeant," and he comes back like that because he's the fucking stud. It's easy, and he's the same way. He's just no emotion. Get that shit out of there. Get it out. And we go. Jack's trying to get Scott Wickland because we found Scott Wickland had managed to climb out. Scott was with the ambassador that night. He was the ambassador's main body man. Scott got out, and we managed, and he was going into shock, and Jack managed to get Scott out of a shock by just being positive. We just couldn't get Scott to go into shock because we didn't have enough people, man. I mean, you dead person, then a guy that's injured. But Jack manages to do that, and kudos to Jack because I watched him just stay positive with Scott to get him to come out of his shock, and it did. You could just see Scott's eyes come back, and Scott was doing this, and then he finally stopped. And you just see him come back to himself, and he gets up. Well, we get back, and we get attacked again, and the movie's all right. It was explosion went off. I went back to my security point, so I'm on this side of the ambassador's villa. Explosion goes off on this side, so it's an angle. Boom, and guys run in front of me, and my gun comes up. And I remember as my gun came up, a Libyan ran in front of me, and he's holding his wrists, and he's about 10 feet in front of me, so I'm seeing his profile. He's running that way, and his hand's missing, so it's just blood's hurting everywhere. He takes off. His buddy runs after him, and he's holding this piece of his buddy's hand. And I remember watching that. And my guns are up, and I said, "What happened?" I don't know if they speak English. I'm just trying to figure it out. And he goes, as he does that, he goes, "Grenade." So when he says grenade, the guy just holding pieces of his buddy's hand. My gun comes down. So I figured he tried to cook a grenade off, and he just held it for too long. And before he threw it, he blew his hand off. So it serves him right. They're out of here. But then there's a second one that goes boom. I hear the boom in the distance, and I know that's an RPG. Because guys, for those that have not been shot up RPGs, there is an explosion when they go off, because that's how they propel. And if you're at a long enough distance, you might see a little bit of a vapor, but usually at night you're generally not going to see a vapor. You're going to hear the boom, and I heard a boom in the distance, like holy shit. And I did. I puckered. My ass went from here to. I like holy shit. I know what that is. And I remember I just turned. And I went, and now the movie showed me having this wall, but it was the building. So I was here, and I talked, and luckily the RPG hit on this side. So when it hit, the shrapnel went this way. I caught overpressure. Yes, it knocked me over. And I got pieces of the building, but I got body armor on. I've got my helmet on. I'm just catching dust particles. I'm not catching any metal, but it did knock me down. And then the movie showed it, just saw it on. It's just the world opened up. And I remember picking myself up and I just started shooting because they were trying to counterattack through that back gate. And we got in a fight, and this Libyan actually took a knee right next to me. I wish we would have put that in the movie. You guys would have got kicked out of that. Just as Libyan came out of nowhere, and he started shooting, and my right eardrums blowed out. And I look, and there's this little Libyan, and it did. He looked like he just got off work for at a bank. He had a button down here, black. He had nice little loafers on, and he's next to me, and he's shooting. And then Boone got in the fight. He come running up, got in the fight, started shooting. And then Tig and Jack jumped up on top of the building in Mastersville, and they started shooting, and we did. We crushed them, and we fought them off. The State Department guys at that time, they had took off, and they did go the wrong way. They got fucking hammered. I think people fail to talk about that, and that is so important because the militia, Ansar al-Sharia and Al-Qaeda and the Maghreb, the two groups that attacked us, they did have a house that was 2 houses down from the Ambassadorville. I mean, 2 houses down from the State Department compound. We had let State Department know that for months. Like you got the bad guys. They live next to you. They moved in. You guys know this. They wouldn't do a thing about it. Kennedy, Clinton, none of them. They wouldn't do a thing about it. And because if you see in the movie when we drive by and I go, I'm taking pictures of them going like this, that actually happened. Like it's right there. It's like they live right next to them, and they're flipping me off, and I'm flipping them, going, "Yeah, small motherfucker." Serious. But they got hammered in the movie show. They were very lucky. Their level 7 held, and that remember that car was still burning when we left the following morning. But we got out of there. It sucks because we did leave the ambassador. Now, we didn't know if he was there, but regardless, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Never leave a fallen comrade to fall in the hands of the enemy. That's part of the 5th stanza Ranger Creed. Every unit has something similar, leaving no man behind, but we did. We don't have an I'm not going to make an excuse for it. Do I have an excuse for it? Sure. But I'm not going to make an excuse for it. We left him. He was found dead of smoke inhalation when the fighting moved to our place and the fire died down. Locals found him in there, and it wasn't the enemy that found him. It was just locals that were going there to loot the place. They found him. They took him to the hospital. And Ambassador Stevens was revered by the local community. They loved him. They loved him. I mean, because he could speak Arabic. He was willing to get in and interact with them. So anyway, fighting moved back to our place, bud. And we got attacked at 1. You see the movie, and I don't want your time, Kris, bud. I don't want to kill you for time. But you tell me how much you want me to go into it.
No. I'm in no rush, buddy. I've got.
Are you sure? Because I know you got to pick up your kids.
No,
But
that's
I mean, I can go in as much detail as you want, or as little detail as you.
Yeah, you crack on. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the story. It's nice. Well, it's not nice,
well.
but it's good to hear it from someone that lived it. You know.
That lived it. Well, luckily, luckily God had a plan for me somewhere down the line here. Well, he still does. But we got attacked at 1. Movie did a great job showing that. There was a gelatina bomb that came over the back fence that started the attack. That was the initiator. It did almost hit Tig. I remember I'm up on the roof. We see him moving off us. And for those that have done it, and for those that haven't, but for those that have, it is badass to watch your enemy through night vision, and they don't know that you see him. It's pretty awesome. I mean, we're watching a move. We got our night vision on, and I'm seeing them move, and we're looking for guns because at that point in time, too, those Blackwater guys, buddy, my Slatton, Paul, they're buddies, good buddies. They'd gone to prison for in my opinion, defending themselves. And
That was Iraq, wasn't it? Was that
yeah,
Iraq?
Iraq. The
Service in Iraq.
yeah,
I
the
once
monsters.
reckoned that route. I reckoned that route or
Yep.
something. Yeah.
And so we know that's happened. So we're like Ron is our de facto leader at that time. We have a team leader that we didn't put in the movie. He's in the book. He was absolutely worthless. We didn't do anything for us. So Ron was really our team. He was our assistant team leader, for real in real life. But he was the guy. So Ron, we're calling him like, Ron, we got movement. You got guns? No, I ain't seen guns yet. Don't shoot. Ron, they're getting closer. And they're moving and they're starting to, and they're doing their thing. We know they're coming at us. They're hiding behind bushes. They're moving. And then I remember a Boone come across the road and he goes, I got an AK. And Ron said, everybody got AKs. Don't shoot until we get shot at. I don't want to go to prison. That's what he said on the radio. Like, Roger that. Shit. And I'm on the radio going, how? And they just keep getting closer and closer to Oz and Tick's position because they're the closest to the zombie land, the area we call zombie land. They're right on that wall. And I'm like, how close are we going to allow these guys to get to us? And that's when I see a fist come over the back gate through my night vision. It looks like a wicklet, like if you like to stick a dynamite. It comes across and it's going over Oz and Tick's position there at the wall. But as I look, and this, I mean, this all happens in a split second. But to me, things slow down in those situations. And again, it's from experience. I think it's more just experience. Everything didn't speed up; it slowed down. And I'm watching it go, and looking at Oz and Tig, and all I see is one person up on that perch. I'm like, holy fuck, where's the second person? Well, Tig went to get water for Oz and Tig. So I'm watching this bomb come down, and then I see it out of the corner of my eye, because night vision, we don't have four bangers. We just got, I think it was 15s. I can't remember. 15s or 10s, the duals, the twos. So I can still see as I turn to follow, just right out of the corner of my eye, I see a guy coming in, and they just meet. And I see the bomb land, explodes, white light, because the overbunch to light, it whites out my night vision. But then it comes back, and I'm thinking, well, fuck, we lost somebody again. But the world opened up, everybody starts shooting. And night vision shooting is awesome, guys. I mean, you're seeing our lasers, because we got app peels, and you're seeing the lasers go everywhere. And then you're seeing, and I wish I'd hit every time. I didn't. So I miss sometimes too. And so, but you see this flash if I hit something solid with my weapon system. But then you see guy go down, and if somebody hit him with an M4, and I do believe the Blackwater guy, I mean the Black Hawk Down guys, the Rangers in Delta and Somalia, when we get taught that, we're like, man, I wish we had bigger rounds, because guys do sometimes you'll hit them and they'll stay down, and sometimes you'll hit them with that little round and they'll pop right back up and run, or they'll shake it off. And we saw that. I saw that. I hit a guy I hit him right here, and it was the arm or underneath here. It was a little bit of a distance, and all he did was go like this, and he took off running the other way. But then I hit a guy another time. I mean, I hit him right, and it was a lucky shot, guys. No skill. I got lucky, bam, and and he's profitable. He just dropped. So you just keep shooting. I told you just keep shooting until they don't move anymore. Just keep shooting until they all run away or they don't move, and that's what everybody was doing. And we crushed it. We decimated. I mean, we did. It was easy. It was like fishing a barrel. Fought them off. I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's go get whoever our dead body is. I'm thinking it's be Tig or Oz. As I start to come down, I'm looking, and there's no body there. And so my head's thinking, man, did he just get turned into dust? Tig's a big guy. And actually Tig took that gelatina bomb explosion, and he got up and he got in his position, because I look and there's now two guys in that fighting position. And I remember asking Tig after. I mean, I'm not asking him. I'm not going to walk down and go, hey, dude, what happened? We still got to defend. But when we got to Germany, I said, what happened? He goes, well, I got hit. He said, and a gelatina bomb, for those that don't know what that is, it's really used for fishing. It's just a big, it can be glass, but generally it's a plastic. It's like a big flashbang is what it is. It's a huge flashbang. It has no shrapnel in it. So he was able to take the hit, get up, and he got up and he kept fighting. And that's what he did. He got up, he got in a position, he kept fighting. And that says a lot for the team that we had, because it's just guys that just didn't quit. They're gonna keep fighting through the pain. And it's fucked him up. He's fucked up permanently from that. I know it's from that. He thinks it's from the other things as well, not just that. But I know, as his arm goes out, his back still goes numb. I just remember just seeing him in Tennessee, and he just gave out. And Tick's a big guy. Tick's about 6'2", 240. And I remember him walking. We were doing a function together, or him, me, and Oz in Tennessee, and Ty's mom, Cheryl, and Glenn's brother, Greg. And I remember we were walking, and he just, it's like he just fell. I'm like, good, get up. And my little ass trying to, especially my old little ass trying to hold him up. But he fought through it. And then between 1 and 3 a.m., that's when we realized nobody's coming, because our job as GRS guys, global response, one of our main jobs is to find those QRF elements. That's what we are so small that if we need assistance, we can respond, and then we need to call higher to something bigger if we need it. And that's one of our jobs. So when you come into one of our GRS team rooms, we have every QRF element within a radius that can get to us within, a few hours, even up to 12 hours in some areas. If it's that remote, we have it on a board. We have it on our Falcon feed. We have it on Google Earth in a secure Google. I mean, it's there. So we know who we're calling because we've used them before. So we're like, call this guy. And we're like, and this is the first time in my 10-year career of contracting, whether it was with State Department, whether it was with CIA, or whether it was private, that we were getting told no. We don't have people in the vicinity. And I remember because we would call, and we had a Vietnam veteran. We didn't put him in the movie. He's in a book. I can't give his name because he still wants to remain anonymous, but he's the one that's on the 117 downstairs, and we're relaying to him, hey, call the 117, our 10 Alpha Common that goes everywhere, every CIA base, every military base, even the White House, even Langley. It goes to every freak in the world. We're saying, hey, call this guy. Get 555th Fighter Wing from Aviano, see if they got jets in Suda Bay. Hey, get with Stiganella, see about the Marines in Stiganella. Yeah, they got a Spectre gunship out there. Hey, we got a MEU in the Mediterranean. Call those guys. And we're giving the 10 Special Forces Group, the Commanders and Extremist Force, the SIF, they were in Spain at that time. We're like, hey, and that was actually the ambassador's primary security. For some reason, they had been pulled out of the country when he came to Benghazi. But they were with him. That was his TSD team. Every other time we were there, that was his PSD team. For some reason, they got pulled in. But we're like, call his SIF, get him here. And that's when you see in the movie, it says J-Stock team getting repositioned. That was his team. They were over in Spain, and they got repositioned and got closer, and then stopped. But we knew nobody's coming because every few minutes he'd report back to us, hey, they're not coming. They're not coming. And then Boone would walk to me because sometimes I take my earpiece out. And because I didn't want to hear it, and I knew Boone was right there. So he kept walking me from about 2 to 3 a.m. Boone came to me several times. He goes, hey, the SIF team's coming. Then he walked back and go, no, they're not coming. Then he says, hey, 555th on its way. The F-15s, F-16s, the fast movers out of Aviano. And he'd go, no, they're not coming. So Delta's moving from an unknown location. Oh, no, they're not coming. Then he said, the Marines are on their way. No, the Marines are not coming. Fast companies. And I finally just said, hey, dude, you're breaking my heart. If it ain't Domino's Pizza, I don't want to know him. And it is a little disheartening because you do realize you're on your own.
Exhausting, probably.
You are. And you did that the devil will creep in. That's when he's going to creep in. And he did. I could feel him. That stomach where like you're losing hope. You're giving up. And I think that's when people really die. That's when they die. When they finally are like, I give up. Especially on the battlefield, like we're not going to win this. Now there are times where sometimes just your number. The mortar hits you on the head. What are you going to do? It's just your number. But when you have a chance to fight through it, and I think we all have gone through that at some point in time where it's that adrenaline, and it is physically, it's just your adrenaline overtakes you. You go in the black. Colonel Cooper's color coach, right? You go in the black, everything shuts down, but you can feel it starting. At least me, I can feel it right here in my chest. And I remember the old samurai warriors, the old kung fu jeet kune-do guys, Bruce Lee, the chi, the ki, whatever you want to call it. To me, that's where you got control of it and you just push it out. And that's all I did. As I started to think of a positive. And I did. I started to think of my family briefly. And I didn't go down that rabbit hole where it's, oh my gosh, I'm never going to see my family again. Woe is me. It was, okay, what did I say to my family when I got off the phone? Because did I talk to them? I talked to them today. What did I say when I got off the phone? Did I tell my daughter I loved her? Yep. Did I tell my wife I loved her? Yep. Did I tell my son I loved him? Yep. I had a 6-year-old. It was 6 or 7. My daughter was 3. My wife, and all I thought in my head was, did I tell them I loved him? Yep. And I was able to push all that negative. It was just gone. It's like, okay, they know how I feel. fucking suck it up. Let's get back to work. And that's what we did. And I was able to push it. And everybody on that team I know did something similar because there was no give up. I saw no give up in any of my teammates' eyes. In fact, but Rome just got tougher because he was our medic. So he's running around triaging guys because we got little cuts and boo-boos and bruises. You know, I fell off a wall and sliced my arm open. You know, guys that, Tig had been just blown out. So I see him, and that dude was a fucking stud. Roman he's running around doing all his 18 Delta, doing all his corpsman duties. And then he's getting up in his positions and still trying to pull covers. And he's running back down and he's checking on everybody. And dude, this dude's an animal. And then at 3 a.m. we get hit again and we crushed them again. The movie, if you watch them, they started moving on us. We knew they were moving on us. We did have an ISR overhead, probably about midnight. And I do remember the ISR was up above. And I did say this, the movie, I'm glad we put it in the movie. The ISR comes across to the base chief and goes, well, first of all, now about 2-3 minutes before I get on the radio and I go, hey, we've got movement over in the parking lot on the east side. They're moving on us again. We're going to get attacked again. And 1 minute goes by, 2 minutes goes by, 3 minutes goes by. And then Bob comes across the radio and he goes, hey, the ISR is telling us that you got troops massing from the east side. They're moving on, going to attack you. And I got on the radio, I go, you tell those ISR guys that pretty much fucking workless. And I said that about 3 minutes fucking ago. And I said, tell them to get higher and expand their visibility because they're too tight. So I did say something tactical, but I just say typical Tanto fashion. Dude, you guys are fucked up. Get together. Warn us. And but they attacked us and we crushed them. I mean, our interlocking sectors of fire, we knew how to defend ourselves. We had it set up perfectly. Guys were not flinching. So when even Oz and Tig in their positions, when guys got close, they did not try to move back. They held fast. They trusted the protection they had around them. Me and Boone, we were up elevated, that's where you want to be. You want to be elevated. If you're defending, we're elevated. We've got 3-foot parapet walls, and we're just zipping people up, and there was an RPG that went through. I didn't even see it. It went right between me and Boone. They caught it when we watched the film from the ISR feed. The next we got back to Langley. They're like, did you guys see that? Like, no, I didn't even see that some bitch go by my arm. You were just focused on taking people out. And we just destroyed him. I mean, crushed him. Roan got in the fight from his side too, and we just decimated him. At 5 a.m., that's when we get word that Bub's team's coming in. Glenn Doherty, he was former SEAL Team 3, I believe. And Glenn's a good dude. I worked with him when I was in Tripoli. Benghazi wasn't my first. I had worked in Tripoli before I went to Benghazi. The majority of us had. The only one that was specifically was Benghazi was Tig. Tig, that's where he kept going. But a lot of us were going back and forth. So I knew Glenn. Glenn was a Delta. He and 3 other GRS operators. And in Tripoli, we did have a Delta, small Delta, 2-man Delta team that worked with us in Tripoli. So they all flew in from Tripoli to Benina. The movie, if you want to see, where they were trying to fight to get people to take him out there, that did happen. They got there like at midnight, but they could not get coordinated with any locals. And then the local troops and the locals that they were trying to coordinate kept telling them they didn't know we were at. So they sat at the airport for a good 4 hours. I mean, and they're only 10 kilometers away from us, just trying to navigate and just get somebody to get them there. But they did manage to get there. Bub, amazing. Bub was the only one that came out of all of the guys that came in. I saw everybody else go into our main building, Building C. That was like our main area, our main talk where most of our gear was. Bub was the only one that scurried up on the top of Building C to visit Rome, because him and Rome were buddies. They knew each other. And when he did that, that's when the mortars started coming. And it did. My hearing had been shot out. I couldn't hear very well. And it didn't sound like a mortar. It didn't do the normal tube drop. I heard and that's what I heard. And I did go on my go, did you guys hear that? And Tig's Fort made a tube drop sound. And I believe him. I just know my hearing was fucking decimated. So it probably was. But to me, it sounded like a Katyusha rocket. That's what it sounded like. I thought it was a rocket. Because it went like, holy shit. But it was an 81 millimeter mortar. But I said, did you guys hear that? And then something in the back of my head said mortars. And me and Ron came across. So he goes, mortars. And as soon as I said take cover, he had already said take cover. Must have been stepping on him. That's when the first one hit. And he's up on Building C. So building C is our main building. That's where all of our gear is. Most of the people are. That's where our talk is. That's where all the, that's if you're going to hit a building, that's what you want to hit. That one right there. That's our main building. And on top of that, you got Oz, you got Dave Ubin, State Department officer, you got Bub, and you got Brown. And that first one hit on the back side of building C. So it didn't hit. Rome spun. I remember him spinning, and he had the machine gun. He just held that trigger down one cyclic. So, and it wasn't daytime yet. We were before morning, nautical twilight. So we're still my night vision is still on. The movie showed at daytime. We didn't really, that didn't matter to us, to be honest with you. Because it was right morning. But I remember when he turned and went cyclic, you just see a machine gun going cyclic. It's just a laser beam, it's just bullets coming out of his links. And then the second one came, and I'm shooting over their heads. I turned to make sure our 6 isn't getting overrun, because that's my responsibility too. I got to look behind me. I can't just get in a fight. Nobody's coming. I come back. The second one hits, just boom. This one hit right on top. My night vision goes white. And I could see 4 silhouettes in the beginning. As my night vision comes back from the white, from being whited out, I see 3 guys. So I know guys dead, or somebody's got hit. But again, you're in the middle of a fight. You can't stop. And yeah, again, early in my career, I might have just like, whoa, and might have freaked me out. And I might have ran over there and said, let's do medical. You can't. You got to keep fighting. You got to fight them off first. So we're still fighting. I'm putting rounds over the guys' heads. Oz is still fighting. I didn't know at the time who it was. It was Dave Ubin. I didn't know. But so you still have 3 guys fighting. And it was Bub, it was Roan, and it was Oz. I'm putting a couple rounds over their head just to get some snaps going over the enemy's head. I'm looking this way, come back, and then I see fire for effect. See, boom, boom, boom. And it was just like a mortar team hitting right where they wanted it. Yeah, spotter, your long one, drop 20, hit that second one, you're on target, roger that, splash, fire for effect. And they start throwing them out. And when those hit, my night vision went white. And as it came back, those 3 guys are now gone. And got my night vision on. And guys, if you see particles, and it's when the particles and the dust and the debris get kicked up in the air, it's electrically charged, and you can see it in your night vision. It looks like, to me, it looks like pixie, like fairy dust, like Tinkerbell. And I say, and it did for a brief moment. It got so silent, just silent. And I thought to myself, holy fuck. I watched my team get turned to dust. I watched all of them get hit. Night vision goes white, comes back, they're gone. Fuck. And I put my head down negatively. I said, I'm like, man, we can't beat this. And I said to myself, we can't beat this. And we don't have any air support. And then, you don't quit. And that's where that upbringing came from. And that's where faith in God came from too. You don't quit. Grandma never let me quit. Mom never let me quit. Dad never let me quit. You didn't quit ever. Didn't quit when I got kicked out of the army. Didn't quit when when I got released from the army. Didn't quit with this disease. 10 years of going overseas, bad things happened, and I never stopped. I'm not going to quit now. And God, to me, it was God. I don't care what you guys can think whatever you want, but to me, it was God. God kicked me in the back of the head and said, "Get your gun up, Ranger." And my grandmother's voice came in my head, because my grandmother would always say, "Did you work hard enough, Eagle?" She would always say that to me. "Did you work hard enough, Eagle?" Whenever I didn't get anything I wanted, it was to put the blame on me. Nobody else's fault. Did you work hard enough? And I heard that in the back of me. Did you work hard enough, Eagle? And I got my gun up, and we kept fighting. Me, Boone, and Jack kept fighting, and we fought them all. We got lucky. We fought them all. And we got lucky. The mortar team, for those, it didn't really show up real well in the movie, but for those, just so you have some closure, if you ever have that in the movie, the militia that took off, their commander got caught in our building C. So if you see in the movie, you see him go into building C to talk to Bob. He got stuck in there. So that militia took off, and they took out that mortar team force. That's why the mortar stopped. We got lucky. And well, I'll get to it. 7 a.m., we get word there's a militia coming in. We haven't been attacked for 2 hours now. The movie's spot on. Pablo played it perfectly, because I'm on building A now, the building of the front gate. And Bob says there's a militia coming. He goes, "Tanto, you got a militia coming in. We are not sure if they're friendly. If they're not, you got to make sure they don't get on the come." I didn't have nothing left of my 46. All I had was my M4. That was all the ammo I had left. I said, Roger that. I asked Bob, give me some, give me a situational report here, Bob. Give me something. And, give me a salute. I said, actually, I said, can I get a salute? He says, well, size is going to be about, and he doesn't know what that means, but he's doing what he can. He goes, we think about 30 to 40 vehicles, including technicals. We don't know colors. They have no emblems. We don't have any uniform information or any insignia. He said, do we have communication with them, Bob? He goes, we don't have any communication with them. He said, we've lost it. And I did just like that. And I got ready to go, Bob, you've been a fucking plethora of information. And I still and I got down and it was a bad militia. And for those that have been and seen those technical militias, those militia, they're fucking badass, man. You got Discas in the back of these Hiluxes, and a Hilux, for those that don't know, we don't have Hiluxes here in America. Do you guys have Hiluxes in?
Yeah, we have them over here. Toyotas.
Yeah, we got Tacomas, which is similar, but you guys know what a Hilux is. And they got GPUs, and they got anti-aircraft guns in the back, they got Discas in the back, they got PKMs in the back, and they just keep coming. And I got a T-shooter, and I remember getting behind that parapet wall. And I remember making myself as small as I could. And it's daytime now. So my night vision's out. My app peels off. I've got an EOTech, so my EOTech's on. And I remember looking at the front guy's vehicle, and they got close. They probably weren't more than 40 meters, maybe 30 meters away from my position. And I'm looking at the passenger. He's chewing khat. You know what khat is. Khat is an amphetamine. It's tobacco. It's a leaf that's basically cocaine mixed with Copenhagen and steroids. And they dip it. It turns your mouth all brown, gooey. It's just gross, man. Rots your teeth, but it gets them worked. It's like being on fucking crack cocaine. So he's got dip. And the guy in the disc, it's a disca. So he's got a disc in the back. He's got a big wad in. And I don't know why I remember, but I remember the big wads dipping of the khat. And I turned and I did. I did this, guys. I wasn't movie magic. That's all I can remember. I learned that from the Sudanese when I worked at Camp Merez in Mosul. We had Sudanese guards, and it's a Swahili thing that means good morning. It could mean hello, but man, there was so much of this going on and because I think of the internet and Shaka being be cool, they picked it up, and I would do this for 5-6 years, leaving Mosul. Didn't matter if it was Iraq or North Africa. If I got it back, it was generally a sign of, hey, we're cool, right? I couldn't think anything else. I had no contact with him, and I was tired. So I went like this, and the guy on the passenger side, I remember he rolled his window down, or his window was partly down. He took it down a little farther, and he stuck his arm out and went like this, and he smiled, huge smile. And the guy on the disco, he actually took his hand off the flywheel with one hand, and he smiled, huge smile, and he went like this, and it was just. I mean, it's just every weight in the world just went, and I went, they're with us, and I broke down. I did. I started laughing like the Joker, laughing hilariously, and I broke down for a split. I did. I mean, it wasn't long, but I did. It was just I could I finally was able to let everything go briefly. Just let it go, get it out. It's like having Crohn's disease. Just get it out real quick, get it out. All right, and then get back on it. And they came in and we got out of there. And what had happened is that militia that escorted in, that took out the mortar team for us, they went and got more of their brothers. And I don't know what the communication was. I don't know who Henry was talking to or Bob was talking to, but for some reason, those two couldn't figure out if they were friendly or not. I don't know. I wasn't part of those conversations. But once we got to the airfield, we loaded up. Oz said one of the coolest fucking things, Clint Eastwood shit, and he said this, man, because he's Pepper, Oz is Pepper, or Ronan Bub are dead. They die. Dave, his leg is almost sheared off. It's hanging on by a thread, literally. So is his arm. We have it tourniquet. I mean, there's 3-4 tourniquets just tighten on both. Oz has tourniquets all over his arm because his arm's been almost sheared off. He had been riding in back of one of the Hiluxes because we couldn't fit him in any of the vehicles. And we needed him to lay down. When we got to the airfield at Benina, we pulled in. There wasn't an oil executive's jet there. Bob actually rented it, guys, with his own money. He spent his own fucking money to get that jet. He was later reimbursed. Don't get mad at the agency. They did later reimburse them. I think his family 5-6 years later. So he did get reimbursed. But that's Bub, man. That was Bub. He didn't don't money. What's money? Bub's a surfer. He was a surfer down in Southern California. What the fuck is money? And he got that there. We loaded Dave on. One of Dave's tourniquets came loose, so he started to go into convulsions, and we couldn't figure out. We're like, holy fuck, because we're running out of IVs, and we found that one of the it was all bloody. It just had slipped. So oh shit, there it is. We wrenched it down, got him stabilized. He's pretty fucked up there. He's bleeding. He's dying. We got to get him out of there. Oz got that truck in there. We pulled him in. We tried to help Oz. He's like, get your hands off me. Get your hands off me, guys. He goes, I walked into this country and I'm fucking walking out. It's like, damn, Oz, that's the bad shit. It wasn't, actually, we put it in the movie like, oh, that didn't, he didn't, yes, he said, the only thing we pulled out is the fucking. We didn't put that in the movie, but we put and it still gives me chills to like, man, that's some badass country boy shit right there. And Oz is a badass country boy. That's Oz. But he walked in there, and man, those flight attendants, they were actual flight attendants that came. They had no idea. They were all dressed out because this is a like a G6. It's like one nice ass expensive planes. Their eyes, they just turned white. And I remember they ran in and got towels, and they were laying towels down the stairs as Oz was bleeding and Dave's bleeding up them stairs. They don't know what to do. And we got him on there though, and I say that thing about Bub, and why I mention that is because if Bub hadn't got that plane there, we would have lost 2 more guys. So Bub sacrificed himself to save 2 lives, and those guys are alive today because of Bub, and that's what we do. That's you sacrifice. Well, we wait 10:30. I see 1:30. I see it off in the distance. It's 10:30 in the morning. It starts to come in. They had brought the ambassador's body. I ID'd it to make sure that he hadn't been, because I'm still thinking, I'm thinking Black Hawk Down. I'm thinking Somalia. I'm thinking they probably drug him through the streets. I want to make sure he wasn't tortured. So I ended up and look at him. I can't remember if he had an eye. No, it was. He ends up body bag. Took him off, body bag, look at him. And he looks fine. I mean, he's dead. He's burnt a little bit. He's burnt and smoke inhalation. They hadn't cleaned him up at all. I didn't look at his genitalia, and I heard stories that they may have cut off his genitalia. I don't know. I didn't look at it, but I didn't see anything that would give me the impression that they drug him through the streets or torched. Didn't see anything of that. Tig looked at him too and didn't see anything of that either. But none of us. And hindsight 2020, I wish I would have now, so I could have some closure on that. But I don't know if they did anything to his genitalia. Some people said they did, some people said they didn't. I didn't see it. But we get him, C-130's coming in, lands. That's at 10:30. I'm thinking to myself as I see it off in the distance, because a C-130 is pretty distinct profile. Anybody that's been in the military, you know what a C-130 looks like with the way it's shaped and the what am I looking for? The wings and where the engines are. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Americans better late than never. But as it gets closer, I can start to see the tail. I see it's a Libyan flag. And I did. I shook my head, and to myself, I said out loud to myself, I said, still no Americans. I just chuckled. And it went down. And long story short on that one, guys, is we didn't put it in the movie this way, but it actually taxied by us. It parked, it turned it in, it turns its engines off. So it shut down. We thought we were going to do a hot load, where they drop the ramp and we just run in there. And, but didn't, went down there. We went down there. They were in their little area drinking chai. We were like, because I looked at my team leader. I'm like, is that for us? And he's like, he just went like, I don't know. And we went in there and we talked to those pilots and we bribed them, we paid them. But we also talked to them like, hey, can you fly us out of here? It just showed up. We got fucking lucky. Again, lucky. It just got lucky.
It was a lot of luck.
Just luck, man. It's a faith. I have faith. Faith always increases your luck. I always tell people, I have faith in something. It's weird how having faith always increases your luck. But we got on the plane. We flew home. We flew to Tripoli. We got the bodies because we didn't have enough body bags, so we had to cover up Bub and sheets and I do remember, he was in a position and we put him in the truck that rigor mortis had set in. And I remember sitting in that C-130 and, they're all there. We have all the dead, we've got Ambassador, we've got Sean, we've got Bub, we've got Roman. And I remember Bub's arm was out because we didn't body bag. So his arm's out in the sheet like this. And it's like an elephant in the room. You got the Delta guys there. You've got the other GRS guys from Tripoli. You've got our guys that are still alive here, me, Jack, and Boone. And everybody's just staring at it. And so we're flying back from Benin, and I like this. We're all waiting for somebody to do something. And I'm like, fuck it. And I didn't say fuck it. I just, in my head, I go, fuck it. And I walk over there, and it's rigor mortis to sit in, and I grab it. I just wham, and I always have apologized to his family. I think it's a sore. I tell people this is, there are horrible things that you even have to do to your friends to finish. I don't know, to make it better, to finish. I don't know. It's just that you have to go through maybe there. And I remember I could feel all the tendons and everything snapping, and I just shoved it down and I kept shoving it until it stayed underneath the sheet because I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to remember Bub like this, in a position where it was disgraceful. So that hurt, and I've apologized to Greg so many times. That's his brother. Like, man, I'm sorry. But yeah, if there's youngsters getting ready to go in, I just want them to know what they're getting into and things that will stick with you forever. And but we got there, we got him in our flag. That's the first time we got in flag draped coffins. Wonderful pilot named Colonel Eric Stahl, who I'm still friends with. He flew his T-17 in to get to us, and he could have disobeyed orders a little bit, maybe, but he flew his T-17 in. We loaded the coffins up. We got on there and we flew to Germany. And a lot of people that don't know this either, because it was never reported. It was reported. It's been reported more and more later. When we were sitting on that plane, I heard Eric on that 17. I heard the engines rev hard. So we're taxiing. We get on the end of the runway. I hear them just go, and it just guns. I mean, the engines. It's like when you rev a car and you got the brake on. And I know what that is. I'm like, holy shit! We're gonna do a hard takeoff because we're getting tracked. There's something tracking us, a stinger, something. And I remember just putting them RPMs so high. I thought 17 was gonna, and it shaking, and then just let go and we shot. And I remember we took off, and as soon as we started to hit up a little bit, he just boom banked this one. And I remember asking him, because we're still friends, I said, what the hell? I talked to him later. He goes, yeah, we had a reports of a stinger at the end of the runway, and we were getting locked on. And I was, because they'll get those engines really, really hot and then bang, so the stinger will possibly see a ghost engine. And that's what they do on the big planes. And then, of course, as he banks, you hear the chafe come out. You start hearing the, and I'm like, holy shit, after all this, we're going to get fucking shot. Stinger. But we did. And Eric, because he's, at that time he was a senior pilot. The only funny thing is he told me, there goes, that was a trainee. That was a trainee pilot I had next to me. And he was shitting his pants. But then we got back. Yeah. I took an extra month off. I was a little injured, a little hurt. We all were banged up a little bit. But then we all kept deploying. I went to Yemen. Boone went to Aden. Me and Jack went to Sana'a. And then Tig went to Lebanon, and we kept working for about off and on for about 6 more months. We just depending on the contract, how long we were. And then, but that's when we saw the bullshit. Oh, it was a video. Oh yeah, nothing to see here. Nothing happened here. Oh no, nobody got left behind. Oh no, it was completely unavoidable. And it's about 6 months in, we went to the memorial ceremony for Rowan and Bub, where they were putting the stars on the wall at Langley. And I remember we had already usually only signed a non-disclosure every 2 years. And we had already signed one before we left. When we got back, they made us sign another one. Okay, sorry. And then they made us sign another one when we came back to try to get reimbursed for the clothes that we lost. And they wouldn't pay us for our socks and underwear. That's all right. That's all right. Everything else is fine, but no socks and underwear. You get your socks and underwear back. All right. Because we left everything there. And then we went to the memorial ceremony, and there's this little secret room off to the side of where there's like a line. You walk in, there's a seal. Then there's part of the museum. They're like right off to the left down the hall. There's the CIA museum. That's pretty cool. But in this back room, it's like a little janitor closet. It's hardened, so it's a it's a basically a talk. It's a talk. It's not a talk. It's a help me out. It starts with an S. Why am I fucking drawing a blank? Anyway, the U.S. It's not our SCIF. It's our SCIF. There we go. Thank you. It's our security room.
Right.
And
Okay.
they made us sign non-disclosures again. And Jack looked at me, he was like, "This is fucked up, dude." And they passive aggressively threatened us to not say anything. And we went to the memorial ceremony. Instead of putting us in the front row, they put us behind because there's pillars in that center built in that center area that you see, is the iconic seal. There's pillars. They put us behind a pillar so we couldn't see shit. And we all were pretty angry at that point. All of us were there. And we usually went to one of the bars there at Tyson Stew. There's a Ritz-Carlton. There's a nice bar in there down the road from Langley. We went there, had a drink, and we were like, fuck this. And we voted, though. We voted as a team. We're like, shit, if we vote now, we tell the truth and we tell them what happened, or we stay silent forever and we keep working. Because we knew they were going to fire us, or at least revoke our security clearances, which they did. And we all voted to tell the truth. And that's when we started that's when it was about 6-7 months later, that's when you started to see us start to trickle out, because we're like, fuck. And really, it didn't need to come to that. We didn't want to do that. We all wanted to keep working, and we all did keep working. We just wanted to keep working, but it was like, this is awful. I mean, and the families, they wouldn't tell the families the truth. They wouldn't tell Cheryl the truth. They didn't tell Pat Smith. They had no idea. They wouldn't tell them anything. And we knew the families. We knew who these people were. And it was like, this is fucking garbage. And they wouldn't nothing. It was they took no responsibility for what happened to us. We did our little ARs. We did it. We told them what happened. We told them what improvements they could make. They didn't do any of that. It was like, but the biggest thing was that they just treated everybody like shit. And it wasn't just the agency, it was the full government. It was Obama and State Department. And when we all said we're going to tell it, we did. And we did. And then you guys saw, book came out, movie came out. It took a life of its own that we never expected it to happen. We didn't plan on any of this. So we just did.
It's good that you did, because, soldiers, veterans, we have a moral code. We have a moral compass,
Yeah.
a strong moral compass. So that is the right thing to do for the families and the people that didn't make it home, and for everyone involved. They need to hear the truth. And I'm so glad that people like you have the kind of balls to speak out about it and tell the true story, because this is why I do the podcast, so the stories can and need to be heard, get out there. So I'm conscious of time, Kris, but wow, to hear I've seen the film more than once, Kris. To hear it from your perspective and to hear from someone was there that lived it is just absolutely, as you saw, I sat there in fairly much silence without intervening, because I'm taken aback by the kind of the whole thing behind it. What I want to finish on and touch on, though, Kris, is because I'm big on mental health. The podcast is about mental health. I want to know how the events of those hours, how moving forward, has that affected your mental health over the years?
Oh, definitely has. It definitely has. The book did very, very well, and you got to go on these big book tours, and the movie did well, even though it was the woke people tried to stop it for a lot. It still did very well, and luckily it's a Michael Bay movie. Michael Bay movies never die. They will be. He is a wonderful man. He's a great guy. He's not what you think as a Hollywoodite. He just likes to make movies, and he did an excellent job treating us well. But that experience in itself was different, because you are in the spotlight. You are out there out front, and I never wanted to be. None of us ever wanted to be. We didn't want anybody to know what we did. We didn't join and do the job we did to be public figures. I did the route of, I just bought in. I was like, screw it. We got to do it. I'll act like I act. I'll act the fool sometimes. I'll be Tanto, and that's how it is. And I think their mannerisms came out as well. It did drive us apart for a little bit because you start to get full of your stuff. And I think you see that more nowadays with veterans because there's a ton of veterans that want to be public figures. You do, and you can buy into your own bullshit. You can let your ego get full of yourselves. And I kind of understand now why some rock stars and movie stars, and I put the stars in quotes, but those sort of people actually how they become complete assholes. I get it. Um and we did have a falling out, a few years ago. I say probably about 2017. Um it was just egos. It was egos, it was money, it was like anything else it was. And my life went to shit for about 3 years. I got divorced from my wife. Um, I was out, every vice imaginable I was partaking, drinking, women, not hard drugs, but I was doing a little bit. I was burning the candle at both ends because that's what you do, right? That's what I'm supposed to do. I grew up watching David Lee Roth. That's what you do. That's what you do. But in 2017, it all came to a head. It's Christmas time. I'm by myself. I'm alone. I'm a divorce. My kids are with my wife. And I did put a gun in the bathroom. I still remember it. I remember looking in the mirror. And it's Christmas times can be hard on anybody. Just Christmas in general. It's a happy time, but it also can be a very depressing time if you're by yourself. Um, Terrible toxic relationship with crazy women. Just and they were amazing, but they were. And I was too. That's my fault too. And I remember looking in the mirror and I had to. It was a Glock 19, and I'm looking at myself. I'm naked because I just got out of the shower. I just did my crying game impression in the shower, and I'm guns on my mouth right here, and I'm looking at myself. And I finally can look at myself in the mirror. Could not look at myself in the mirror from about 2014 on. And and it just everything came back. It's kind of like what I just told you. I thought about my upbringing. I thought about my grandparents, and I'm a Christian. You commit suicide, you're going to hell. You're not going anywhere else but hell. Um, I thought about having to go through the military twice, having to do that, and I accomplished it. I thought about moving on from the military and getting a master's degree and still moving forward and bettering myself. At least in my opinion, I was bettering myself in between. I didn't let it kick me in the balls and keep me down. Um, then all that time I went, I did accomplish things in the military as far as ranger school, becoming an officer, and then all those deployments I did, and I got through all those deployments, and I'm standing here. And then I thought about Benghazi. I thought, wait a second, okay, 13 hours, worst night that anybody could think of. I don't think it was. To me, it's not. To me, it's probably one of the best nights. But then you got through that hell and you're standing here. So you got through all that shit. You have a disease that you'll never get rid of that you managed to control and you're able to live a fulfilling life with it. And now you're going to kill yourself. And I asked myself, and I got down on my knee. I dropped on my knees and I prayed for God. I said, God, help me. I said, just help me. I need help. I need you to pick me up. And I put the gun down and I had my cell phone and my wife had just taken the kids to Disney World for a vacation. We have a Disney Vacation Club resort membership, and so we got to we use it once a year. And she was using it, and I remember I called her and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I come hang out with you guys for vacation?" And yeah, she didn't even hesitate. She's like, "Yeah, come on, get a flight." And I remember I'm naked, dripping wet, guns. I put the gun down. It's on the counter, but it's gone. I book a flight. I'm on it the next afternoon, and reconciled, and life turned around. From that day, it went from just being a total toxic shithead, arrogant narcissist that believed in his own bullshit, that bought into this public figure world, to back to being a husband and a father and someone who could be proud of himself again. And my life has been since then. You're looking at it. This is what it's been. We reconcile. We remarried. We're back together. We haven't officially remarried. I did ask her to, but we've been living together since 2017. So we're remarried. Come along, Kansas. We're remarried. I've got to watch my kids grow. I've got to actually be a father and be at home. And it turned out well. So I look back on all that, and I could have gone down that slope of where it had just ended it and became one of those statistics of, he got through all this, and then he let the devil get the best of him, and he killed himself and put a gun in his mouth. And I didn't. And I'm happy to say I did. And I can honestly say that Benghazi saved my life, because that's what the last thing I thought about before I put the gun down. It's like, I got through that. I got through all this, and then I got through that. God put you through that for a reason. So you would be standing here with this gun. You're able to make that right decision and put it down. And I would have tried to kill myself later down. I know I would have. I've been through 10 years of that shit before. I know I would have. But that night is what saved my life. So that's why Benghazi, I can look back on it and smile at it. And I can look back at the movie now and see it's hard to watch. It's harder now to watch than it was when it's first made, because but the wonderful thing about that, brother, is I can remember those feelings. I remember what I was feeling. I remember what I was thinking. It's not a movie to me. I remember talking and saying what I said, but also feeling the emotions and feeling it inside of how I was feeling, and even the smells, and even the other things that I was seeing off to the side when I was talking to Rowan, or when I was shooting, and where am I going to next? Because you're always trying to stay 3 steps ahead, engage and engage over here. And it's wonderful now, because it is something big in my past. It finds a part of me, but it doesn't define all of me. But it's something I can look back and go, wow, man, yeah, that was an amazing night. And also, it was a wonderful night because it saved my life. And that's also why I always tell guys, live your life. I'm living my life, the best life I can every day, because Ron and Bub aren't here. And do I feel some survivor's guilt? Hell yeah, I do. Of course I do. I always will. Always feel survivor's guilt. But what am I gonna do? Be a little bitch? You sit on the ground and cry about it? I wouldn't want Ron doing that if it was on the other foot. So I'm not gonna do that. And I'm gonna live, and also being able to be a father. And that is the coolest. Being able to put that adrenaline, I can put it away. I got my training. I can go shoot. We'll go shoot. We have fun and enjoy ourselves. But man, watching my son, who was 16, where I missed almost his whole life, and we had some problems. He didn't like me because I was never home. And he saw that, my little boy got a lot more attention than my oldest son did. But I remember when he came on the soccer field, because he had too many concussions. He played football his freshman and sophomore year, had 3 concussions. I told him, I said, "You aren't no more, 2 more concussions. Go play soccer," which is fine. He loved it. But when he came out, his first soccer varsity game when he was a junior, and he was wearing number 13, that was that was pretty fucking special. That was pretty special, dude. That was And he'd forgiven me for missing the majority of his life. And him and I are we're very tight now. And he's a stud. He's bigger than me. He can kick my ass now. So I got him. He's bigger than dad. And
It happens. It happens. It catches up with you
yeah,
eventually, you know.
yeah. But it is, but it could have been something that could have been the worst thing that ever happened to me. And it's turned out to be the best thing that's happened to me, and it has saved my life more than once. And I will continue to live the best life I can, because Ron and Bub sacrificed their lives so I could. And that's important to me. So yeah. So I mean, that's really it.
Wow. Like I say, buddy. Well, look, from my perspective, and like I say, I've watched the film a number of times, and so have a lot of my friends, and we all sat there with the same expression, like, from someone that's I've not encountered anything like that, Chris. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been involved in
Yeah.
incidents. I worked in Iraq for long enough. So to know from an operator's perspective what you kind of went through, that makes it all the more for us when we're watching it going, fuck, it's not from a civilian point of
Yeah.
view where they go, oh, that's probably made up. We're looking at it going, fuck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, thank you firstly for sharing your story and taking the time
Thanks.
to share, and for being open about your mental health. My idea with the podcast is always to get people to open up so it might help others. Um, so again, that by you sharing your kind of mental health story as well as the kind of the whole bigger picture, I hope that people will see it and go, wow, he's done all that, he's had all that happen to him, but he's come away from it with a new perspective in life.
Yeah.
And hopefully that helps people, buddy. So
I,
look, again, thank you so much for coming on. I will talk to you in a second off air, but Chris, absolute pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much.
Kris, thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, buddy.